Hero Club presents Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu. Welcome to Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu. I think it's episode 32 or 33. I kind of lose count after like the last two episodes. I'm kind of in a loss, and we're kind of really hyped up for this because ironically, like Sound Out and Darkon like are still hyped up over Crisis on Earth X, which I still need to actually see. But we're gonna do this anyway. So, like I said, my guest host is Darkon633.
Eh.
And co-host is going to be Sound Out as usual, since he's replacing our Gender Joker. Exactly.
Crisis.
Yeah.
Crisis.
What?
Crisis.
What?
What?
Oh, you're just going
Crisis.
crazy? Okay. But nevertheless, we
Yeah.
also have Project RDM here. He's probably going to be popping in and out of this episode, as usual, when he's actually here. But this episode has drastically changed. I mean, it drastically changed. Last week, we already had pre-planned with Darkon to do a giant movie war discussion about why are they not so consistent at being good, but why do we still enjoy them, so on and so forth, etc., etc. However, because of certain things that went on during pre-production of this episode, it just the scripts got flipped. It's out the window. Luckily, because Sound Out hadn't actually rewatched the movies. Darkon only watched like 2 of the movies. I watched like 6. Wait, no, I watched four of like the 8 of the movies. So I watched half of them, and so we like decided to do a whole new thing. So before we tell you what that discussion is, we got to look at the lit list for this week. We are going to be looking at the Televikun scans for Super Sentai as well as Kamen Rider. We're probably not going to be looking at Ultraman stuff because I don't think Darkon's really into spoilers this season when it comes to Ultraman, because he's really seeming to be like into Geed, where he's like, nah, I don't really want too many spoilers aside from like actual real news and teasers. And so we're going to do that, and then we're going to do freaking I forget the best way to explain it, as Sound Out kind of said in pre-production, but I think the discussion is going to be about, what is it, the Tokusatsu's identities.
The current state of Tokusatsu and what each series represents.
So the current state, their identities, and how Bandai controls them.
Yeah, because Bandai controls all of them. Every single one of them.
So first off, let's go look at, I guess, let's just go with the Sentai news, right? Sentai airs first still? Or did they switch it around?
Actually, Rider airs first now.
Oh, so let's go with Rider then, since it airs before Sentai now, when it deals with the new version of Superhero Time, which isn't Superhero Time anymore. So, that Rabbit Tank Sparkling Full Bottle. Yeah, we got some nice Pepsi Advance Icy Slurpee suit coming soon. It looks
It's the ugliest
magnificent.
power-up for a Rider.
Nah, it looks sexy. It looks
I'm
sexy.
talking about the upgrade item. That thing is
Oh,
disgusting.
the upgrade item. Yeah, no,
That
I'm
thing's
talking.
a piece of
I'm talking about the suit. The suit looks like Smex.
The suit looks fine, but if they make a figure out of it, I'm going to rip that belt off of him and give him the regular one.
Do it. I dare you.
I will. I'll do it on camera.
Do it. Damn it. Do it. Also, we also have images for Octopus Light and the movie form, which is, what is it? Phoenix Robot or Robot Phoenix?
Gigant Ho-Oh.
Yeah, pretty much Gigant Ho-Ho. And like these suits look like freaking spectacular. Like all these suits are crazy. Like I don't really like the octopus one too much, but it works pretty well as using like the octopus as almost like a mantle, similar to like Beast had his.
See, there's actually a secret. There's a upcoming Q Ranger and X8 crossover we don't know about, where Q Ranger and Build crossover we don't know about, where Build kills Madako and takes her essence, and that's how the octopus full bottle's made.
I'm not gonna lie, it will fucking work. Let's do that.
And then he Rider kicks Gigant Ho-Oh and takes the essence into 2 bottles. One from the station and one from the rocket.
I don't think that's how it's actually gonna work in the movie, since this is what is the movie war form, but I wish it was. And then I think we have another final thing, which is a teaser for the upcoming film, where we see that the 2 villains, or the actual 2 forms of the villain, fuse into Bai Kaiser. So I don't know what a Bai Kaiser is, but the suit looks pretty bitchin'. I like it.
It's like
hot.
Gigabyte from Reboot. The 2 villains just happen to be one for some reason.
Like right now, I'm not gonna lie, like I really love like this weird geared steampunk Kivo looking son of a bitch.
Yes, we all appreciate you, Wheelz. You don't have to tell us about it.
But at least I actually do shit, unlike Wataru.
Yeah, Watcher is useless.
He is like he's one of the most useless writers. He makes freaking Ryotaro and Deno actually competent before the finale even gets to the finale, and he actually is competent. It's sad. It's fucking sad. It really is. And then for the other additional scans that we got here, we have like crazy stuff like the actual suits in further action, actually, fighting Bloodstar, fighting Bat. Oh, I almost said Bat Rogue when it's Night Rogue. And we also see every best match to date, which is like what now? 18? 18 confirmed best matches thus far. Like
Man, I miss the days when writers didn't even have alternate forms.
I miss the days when they had like just a few alternate forms when it was like four to like five, not like 80 fucking seven.
Just be glad we're not in another season like Gaim, where it's multiple forms, multiple riders, just adding on each other.
Yeah, yeah, that used to be some ludicrous shit. But like, what's everyone's thoughts with like a lot of these scans? Like, because I don't think it really reveals a lot about the plot for once, and it's just mostly about, hey, look at our freaking wonderful suits. You're gonna buy figures of these, aren't you? Maybe? Yes? No?
It's basically like a lot of the scans. It's look at our toys, because the Smash as monsters, even if you see them, you can't really tell how they get there because of how unpredictable the series has been with its creation of monsters.
It's also unpredictable in story in general. I can't really predict things because they don't really show you much in each episode. It's actually kind of surprising.
Yeah, like this is the weird thing is like normally scans give you at least a gist of what the next batch of episodes will be, but for once the batch of scans that we got for, you know, I wanted to call him Geed, but I meant Build is like very confined. It's like, hey, we got suits coming, we got fights coming. Here's some stuff for the movie, and that's about it. Like usually we get like some juicier tidbits, but this time it's like very laxed. It's like this is stuff you already seen. This is stuff you already know it's coming. So we're not gonna dick around trying to like spoil everything for once. And I think that's actually a pretty good sign. I think everyone can agree with. They're not just like throwing it all out there like Q Ranger did. Because
Yeah.
with Q Ranger, first up we know that they're gonna like really be taking the fight to a Mage. We know that the Vice Shoguns are gonna be fused into a new Vice Shogun entity, as well as we're getting a badass like homage to Black Cross King from Gokaiger as the Southern King, which is a reference to the fact that he's what is it in the Southern Cross area of the solar
Well,
system.
Black Cross King and Gokaiger was based on the Go Ranger villain.
Yeah, but the fact is the fact.
Actually, it was the Go Ranger
Yeah,
villain
no, it
revived.
was. It was the Go Ranger villain revived. However, Southern King is exactly based on his no Go Rider, Go Kaiger representation, like because it uses the actual bits and parts from the that suit, the modern day suit, for him.
Oh, actually, I did actually forget to comment something about the Kamen Rider build thing.
What is it? All right, before we go further with the other
I think it
information.
would be cool if someone actually went ahead and made Kuma Panda. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And like other scans are kind of showing that like is Southern Cross King actually the real villain and Amage is just like his shadow entity, or are they both the same? Like it's kind of
Oh no,
confusing.
from what I could tell, he's like a general that's possibly helping him, but it has nothing to do with like him specifically. I don't really know otherwise because they didn't say much otherwise.
Yeah, because like I'm looking at a lot of these scans and like I really like how they took, like I said, parts of the Black Cross King suit and like really made him like as a entity based on the actual Southern Cross area in like the universe. Like it's a really unique idea, and it's kind of smart for once to sort of reuse that suit for a space theme purpose. Since Southern Cross, come on, man, Darkon, you've seen Saint Seiya enough that it's ingrained in our minds what the Southern Cross is.
I can't say that the fusion suit looks terrible though. I think it looks like total crap.
It's like let's attach 3 heads to a megaphone.
I'm not gonna even go there.
It is. It's literally let's attach 3 heads to a megaphone and see what happens.
Oh no, it's not that. It's something else.
What, the fact that means Arisa Konomi can blow people harder?
No, it has something else. I'll tell you later.
Why? Why? What now? How bad is it?
It's just a rumor that was floating around.
Tell me the rumor. Let's hear this live.
Apparently a megaphone's gonna be used for the next Sentai's Henshin device.
Why do I have a feeling that this rumor allegedly came from the one and only Dukemon?
Maybe, maybe not.
God, no, he's digging deep. Oh no,
All I know is
it's
that if we
upon
make a
us.
Hong Kong version of that thing, people are going to complain it's too quiet, kind of defeating the purpose of what a megaphone is. It'll be hilarious.
Hey man, Hong Kong versions are hilariously quieter. That's the joke. That is the entire joke. Yo, we lost sound out. Is he alive? Did he die? Did he?
I'm here. I'm
Oh,
just kind of like, I don't know. You guys are talking about megaphones, and I have like nothing to say.
you don't know how to make either dick jokes, blowjob jokes, and other jokes. I mean,
I mean,
that's
I
two.
got plenty of those,
Yeah.
but with you here, I don't really need to make them.
Oh, okay, good. Since usually I'm either the one or Project's the one who has to make them. It's good. It's
Pretty
great.
much.
It's great. We have it planned out. we know what we're doing, as well as this is all foreshadowing of possibly that Transformers podcast to see how well we do our crazy shtick, especially after last week's segue to our outro. Anyways, so that pretty much wraps up all of our actual news since we decided to push, the goddamn scans to this week. And yeah, in pre-production, I don't remember how it fully got triggered. I just know that sound out you started talking about Ultraman sucking, and then me and Darkon had to go and fight for its right to party, and then you were still trying to tell us that it
Oh
sucked.
God, sorry. Whoa, what the hell? Wait, we're recording right now?
Yeah, we're recording right now. We've been recording right
I
now.
just woke up to a horrible dream about you talking about Ultraman being awesome.
Shut
wow.
the fuck up. Shut the
Okay,
fuck
All
up.
right, we got a debate going with two teams.
Wow.
We are gonna kill Project later.
So I was just dreaming, right?
Nope.
Because Ultraman really isn't that awesome.
This is coming from the guy who watched Ultraman Orb with me while it ran last year. The fuck? The fuck?
Ultraman Boar. Okay, yeah, he was a boar. I know.
Go suck a dick.
It's okay. No thanks. I'm good. Thank you though, but no. The offer. No, thanks for the offer. No, I'll pass.
Oh, go fuck yourself. Anyways,
Continue.
as the discussion loosely started, I like Sada, what was the actual thing that really did trigger us? Was it the fact that we were talking about the shows, or was it the fact that we were talking about a toy? I don't really remember.
I think I don't know what we were talking about, but it was something along the lines of Ultraman always gets stuck in the past and how it never moved forward fast enough, which is why it failed.
Yeah, that was where it benched off into, because we were talking about something about Kamen Rider, and then I said something about Ultraman, and then it just sped into that because I was saying that like
I also brought up Garo.
yeah, it was the whole thing about Garo getting popular and all that stuff. So like the best way to start is, I guess, for people that don't know the audio clip, we have kind of a trailer up on our YouTube channel. Hopefully, if it all works out for us, for you guys to hear how it all kind of started, was that honestly, when you think about how shows pick up popularity, at least internationally, it's mostly due to adaptations, distributions, and branding. Really about that. And in the modern era, Super Sentai is popular in North America because of Power Rangers. Ultraman has
Also because of its DVD release.
and its DVD releases now. Kamen Rider is technically only famous due to Saban's Mask Rider and Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, technically
Also,
making
people
more
look
aware.
at Kamen Rider as like, oh, it's like mature Power Rangers.
It's either they think of it as mature Power Rangers, or automatically because of the Metal Hero series, they always sometimes relate Kamen Riders to Beetleborgs and vice versa. So that's another issue. Whereas with Ultraman, it kind of was able to sneak in way before that, but it didn't pick up after that because no one's ever really done. I don't think anyone's done enough research as to why other Ultraman series did not get brought over in like the 60s or 70s. Like no one really, I think, knows the full scenario.
I think it's because they like brought it over as part of that boom of like English anime dubs in the 60s, like Speed Racer and all that. Like they brought it over. They use the same dub cast as Speed Racer, but they brought it over. They tried it out. I don't think it was a great success, so they just didn't do any more. It was just around. It was there. It was kind of a thing. It was kind of weird. They kind of ran, they ran the dub like a Godzilla English dub to try to go off like the low budget Japanese sci-fi, like minor cult group, but it didn't really pick up. And then they later brought over TaJa just because Kirby made a lot of references to Ultraman TaJa.
Actually, TaJa was the third Ultra series brought to North America.
Oh, there's we're talking about Power.
No, no, because Powered barely got a full broadcast on nationwide television. It was supposed to be a full broadcast, supposed to be fully aired, but it was actually really like localized syndications. But it was actually seven out of the original, just straight up Subaraya produced for Japanese audiences. Ultra Seven got brought out because I have it from TNT syndication. It was like the late '80s it got made, and then
That
TNT,
explains why that got a DVD set in America.
but it never had the dub.
Yeah.
No, the seven DVDs does not have the dub.
Yeah, no, I was
Okay.
agreeing with you.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was a yeah as of no yeah or a yeah as in okay, like me. Because like sometimes your yeahs are actually no's towards what I'm saying what happened.
It's only because of my deep-seated resentfulness.
Is because I left you in New Mexico, son.
You know it.
It's always stems back for the fact that I had to put you up for adoption. Always. Always.
Well, what about the Ultimate starring Will Smith?
He's never getting his film. Will Smith needs to just hope that his kid's anime career pops off.
No thanks.
Yeah, he still wants to make the Thundercats movie with his entire family.
I would
That sounds
no.
like a really bad
No.
idea.
No. Okay, so anyways, no, the thing with that is we had seven in the 90s. Seven, I don't know, because like a lot of people I know that were either older than me, at least between, I want to say, Projects and Oga's age, remembers the seven dub a lot clearer than kids mine or Darkon's age. And like I didn't even know I owned the dub because my dad would record Godzilla movies off of it. And I think the reason that seven didn't get any recognition or regards is due to the fact that its dub was, while I want to say 80% accurate to a like dub, they still put in, as SoundOut says, like the old 60s jokes as well as change names of characters. So I think it was hard for when early internet started coming out during the 90s, people could not identify what was what when they went to do research on these things. Because I remember, early days of dial up researching Ultramen and there being barely not many fan sites dedicated to them. They were like just sub pages within a Godzilla website because of the respect of the brand of Subaraya. The house that Subaraya built was Toho and his own, so they just lobbied him in there because, he's technically a part of the Godzilla family due to the fact that Godzilla suits were reused for like the first two productions. And then like Metal Hero, it popped off, it died. Kamen Rider, it pops off and died in America, at least with adaptations. But it is getting a resurgence, mostly probably due to the people that are more Sentai savvy, more people that are, I guess, what would be the correct term? Would you say people that are becoming more and more actual otakus than, in quotations, weeaboos, where instead of just watching like animes off of like fan subgroups or official places like Crunchyroll, they started actually taking an interest in the dramas, getting to know characters and actors, than being solely like kind of, I guess, lured into tokusatsu that way, would you say? Because I've been noticing quite a few people got into toku because they were introduced to some of the actors via their roles in J-dramas, rather than just being, oh, hey, this is just Power Rangers. So...
Well, here's the thing. Isn't that
Yeah.
where a lot of these Japanese actors even start from anyway?
N-
I mean, yeah, some of them do start from regular toku,
the
but there
weird,
is a lot
yeah,
of
like the
J-dramas
weird,
and a lot of...
the weird thing that goes on is that a lot of the bigger actors in Toku, usually their stepping stone is to do Toku, and then go into J-dramas, or they've done a few J-dramas, and then they go into Toku, which gets them, more nationwide known, so they get bigger gigs and bigger roles in other productions. Cause what is it? Kamen Rider Baron's actor did a few like J-dramas, but then once he was Baron, he popped off in more J-dramas, because like right after Gaim finished, he was on a J-drama that got simulcasted by Crunchyroll. So
Don't
We
forget
can't forget the group of
Deno.
people that came into Kamen Rider Deno because they watched the Rurouni Kenshin movies.
exactly, and a lot of people went back and watched Deno because of Kenshin, because they're like, oh, I love this guy, Takeru Sato, goes watches Deno. I mean, the same goes for like a few other things where like I didn't watch a few J dramas until I actually liked certain actors, like Good Morning Call, which comes out, oh yeah, Fucking comes out.
Oh my god, would you stop
It's
going
called-
on about
it's
that?
called
Jeez.
Kamen Rider Wizard Season 3, buddy.
I know it's out. It's literally out. Yes.
You know, I think the main problem is that when it comes to like Power Rangers and even Kamen Rider at times, because those are adaptations, they have a little bit more of a, I guess, kind of more of a I guess more grounded slightly because you're just watching like a new version of something and all that. But because Ultraman has so far just been dubbed, it's kind of weird. I think it's just kind of funky because unlike if you're watching a Godzilla film, which is just one movie production, you're watching this on like a weekly or whatever it's airing basis, and I think that's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah,
For
the problem that some people do have is the fact that when you think of Subaraya, at least Showa-wise, to American fans, is that he's watered down Toho. So he doesn't have the bigger budgets to make all of his city's landscapes look like a genuine one-to-one recreation of a city, where his landscapes obviously look like a small town model scale, that you have for your train rail, just upscaled, and you see them walking through it like it's nothing. Whereas you do see, his work for Godzilla films looking like, oh crap, that cardboard or that plaster building they destroyed made it look like they were falling brick by brick, where Ultraman looks like they're just caving in, cardboard. And I mean, Sentai has that too, but I think there's also the luxury of if it's a guy in a suit dressed up as a robot fighting a monster, whether it be, a guy that looks like a humanoid alien or an actual straight-on monster like kaiju, they can get away with it a lot better than a guy, in a full spandex, rubber plastered bodysuit than that. And I think that's what hurt Ultraman's like reach in America was because it's one of those things that Ultraman is probably one of the more parodied tokusatsus out there, no matter what. It's one of the most, and I think that's what hurts its identity is the fact that it's so easily parodied, I guess, or like it, like I don't, it's not your motivation. You bring it back to the table. Bring it back to the table.
Okay. So here's the thing. When it comes to Ultraman, I think one of the biggest reasons it has trouble finding an audience in America. And this is not like me just hating on Ultraman because there's a lot of things I don't like about Ultraman, but I've never given it a really good shot because this is the biggest issue with Ultraman. When you look at it compared to other Toku shows, compared to other TV shows, other things coming out of Japan, Ultraman looks cheap as hell. And it's not like any discredit to the people that work on the series, but because they have a more limited budget, the giant size sets aren't very detailed. Lighting's always very bright, like just blaring bright, which lighting's part of my problem with Ultraman. But it doesn't seem to have that quality polish to it that like a Toei Toku series where Garo has. It just doesn't look like it if I think a lot of people and a lot of a casual audience, it doesn't look like it's worth watching.
I think the problem is though is that Toei's tried to become has made their shows too drama oriented, where they have to focus more on the aesthetics of actually trying to make it look fine polished like a drama when it's supposed to be made for like all ages entertainment. Where
well, I'm gonna
I think it's like I think that's what is the biggest thing.
They do for Kamen Rider. I don't think it's what they do for Sentai.
Sentai has done it though.
Sentai has done it, but
they have done it once they've explored
HD. Sentai did a very drama-focused series. It was Go Busters, and that was a commercial failure.
Yeah, like that's the thing is like with Sentai, like they still try to like, but the thing is they still try to gear their production values to still have like a better, higher quality, and I think that's also one of their better aspects is like they try to deal with the overall use of focusing on your human aspect, where Subaraya is more about morals and giving you a decent, easy to budget like Godzilla movie at home.
Here's the thing too. It kind of feels like, and this is what's very strange. This is why I think part of it comes from my filmmaking side of things. But part of the reason I've had trouble getting into Ultraman is because Ultraman will have like nowadays 25, 26 episodes.
Oh yeah, that's what fucks them.
But it doesn't so it's incredibly rushed because it definitely feels like they wanted to do more episodes.
Oh, don't even get me started. That's one of my biggest hates as an Ultraman fan for the modern era.
And then part 2 of that, if you look at a Garo series, they're shorter because they try to do more and they put more money into every episode. when you look at Ultraman series, it doesn't feel like they put more money into it just because it was a shorter runtime. Like, yeah, usually less episodes means more money, but you look over at a Toei show, they just seem to put more money into their Toku productions than Subaraya does.
Like, it's weird, because, like, Subaraya does put a lot of money into their the tokusatsu, but the problem that they don't do at all is they seem to not put any budget towards the guys writing their scripts, like, because this is the thing about Ultraman Geed. Ultraman Geed is supposed to be written to be, like, this episodic, ongoing story, but at the same time, I feel like it's just gone by as a blur, where it didn't finally get its footing until goddamn episode like 11 when they had Ryubei Sonozaki's actor return to the Ultra Series franchise, who he's been a actual like kind of reoccurring guest star since the original series, where he was just a basic background guy. Then they cast him a few other times in other roles, and they were like, hey, we want you back as this pivotal character. And like Geed got good, but you can still see their apparent flaw is they're trying to write for a 9 episode series or a 52 episode series for a 25 episode show. And it's kind of ludicrous. Like, they're trying to get their grasp on what it means to be like a short episodic like American season of 25 episodes or 26 episodes compared to like animes are. And I think that's what's still hurting them, because Ultraman Orb sort of did it right, but the problem was they added like a few episodes of filler in the wrong fucking places.
I think the problem is, since I was actually watching Orb X and even Geed, one thing that I think it is a little bit of a problem because of how fast they need to do things is that because they still need to, especially because they're trying to push the toys on top of everything and all that, things get extremely formulaic. And while it does happen in Kamen Rider Super Sentai, it seems like Ultraman really falls to the form a little bit too on the nose, with some episodes that are story plot driven, but because it's so short, it doesn't seem like it's flowing that well at times.
Wait. Are you saying because they're trying to actually stick to the story, it flows too fast?
No. What I'm saying is, because they try to stick to the story, which is fine, because of how short each series is.
Yeah.
They
Okay. Yeah.
Sell the toys on top of it. They can't flow.
Yeah, because this
is
is a legitimate thing, where this is the biggest flaw about Ultraman Geed. Project, what happened when they debuted his final form? What did you fucking say to me that episode felt like?
It looked like the finale.
The way they produced the episode 17 of Geed, it literally could have been us mid-season. You could have made it the series finale or the mid-season finale. You could have made a mid-season finale and come back and done another like 17 or 18 episodes and gave us a 35 episode series the way they wrote this. That's what they did legitimately. Like, it feels completely weird because now the final arc of the last 7 episodes seems completely like that drastic rewritten like 10 to 14 episode like final arcs to like 52 episode anime series, where like the first 36 episodes were about defeating the main villain, but then they killed off the main villain, and then like his pupil rises to take up the mantle, So literally, Geed is exactly like certain animes we've seen, and some of the similar tokusatsus. Best example I could say is Ultraman Geed right now is kind of the whole thing where Enter finally becomes the true main villain after Messiah was destroyed in like, what was it, episode 32?
I think the problem with Geed right now is because of how epic and kind of like groundbreaking in terms of what was going on with the series. Not saying like in Ultraman in general, but at least for the series, they were trying to do with the finale against Belial's battle there. Because the pupil is still around, it just seems like I'm going to become stronger, and then he just loses. I'm going to become like they seem to be dragging.
No, the problem they're having with this is that they're playing it like a chess match because of Keiki Fukude's character. The problem though is because freaking the series is being built off of a pre-existing series of films and OVAs, where it should have just been Ultraman Zero, the series. They're like, no, let's give him a son and have it that the son has to rise to defeat the father. The son has to face the sins of his father. And I think that was their biggest problem, was like, hey, let's create a child for Belial to fight his dad, and then have, Zero be kind of like his friend and mentor. It doesn't work.
And I think another problem with it, going back to the whole subject about toys, this happens sometimes in Super Sentai. Something that Kamen Rider usually happens in Super Sentai, at least in this aspect, when a main villain gets destroyed, if it still continues on, you think it's like that. So, for example, like the War Stars and everything like that, there's another villain group that takes its place and everything like that. This is not what's happening in this show. It's just him doing whatever, and since toys are not supporting it, it just seems like a ping pong ball going back and forth with nothing really supporting it.
Well, no, the argument here is K is built up to be like that second big bad. However, they've only taken a little bit of time to foreshadow the rise to his power, the rise to his succession as the bad guy, you know, as the main bad for the finale. And I think that's its biggest problem. And I think, as Sounda says, the biggest problem is they don't have a budget. And the only reason they were able to make a real resurgence and revival was because they were able to cut a deal with Crunchyroll, and Bandai has been supplying them a shit ton of money to market their stuff like they do all the other series. Because, as we were saying in pre-production, Bandai owns every toku. Like, ever since 2000, Bandai has slowly been trying to get their fingers, get their hands deeper and deeper and deeper into every way that a production works for tokusatsu, and it makes it harder for maybe even the companies to control their own entity anymore, because they're kind of at a loss to try to recuperate their contributors' money, you know, because it's like, oh, you've used X amount of money, so you kind of owe us because we sponsor you. So it's like they're afraid to lose their sponsorships, they're afraid to lose their I guess markability, I guess, because don't forget, the weirdest thing is that the fandom is too self-absorbed with the collecting gimmick, because as you stated earlier in pre-production, Darkon, is that no one really gave a fuck about Ultraman until it went on Crunchyroll, or the fact that it has a collecting gimmick. And I feel like that's a bad thing. If you need to buy something to appreciate a show, I don't Sana, what's the best what am I trying to go with? Because it feels like
the best terminology is it feels like Ultraman finally got cool toys, and people wanted to get an excuse to buy the toys. And then when
that's probably the
Crunchyroll, it made it super easy for them.
Yeah, like I think that's
the
best excuse.
There were casual Ultraman fans until the Crunchyroll deal.
Like, yeah, I know, and like the diehard ones were already here, already established, and you know, once in a blue moon, we I guess the hardcore ones like myself are able to at least get people interested. Like, the funny thing is, I made this joke before with Project and Mucha on a previous episode. I'm not like the other Ultra fans who are usually petty and salty. Like, I do make, you know, petty and salty remarks sarcastically at times, because unlike the other ones, they actually, like, some of the guys who are Ultraman fans are like diehard Ultraman fans where they don't give a rat's ass about Toei whatsoever unless it's Sentai, because they grew up with Power Rangers. But like, there's so many Ultraman fans that like don't want to, like, they can't at least grasp, like how we're discussing right now, that Ultraman isn't cool unless it was pretty much pussy whipped by Bandai, where they had to supply them, you know, gimmicks, they had to supply them newer toys, shinier memorabilia. And the thing is, the Ultraman series did need memorabilia. I'm not going to lie, it did, because I remember looking back and knowing that, like, some of the products of the original toys from TaJa that I wanted to get aren't that great. But then Bandai recently, with Tamashii made these collectible, like, freaking prop replica kind of, like, vehicles of the ships they use, and they're splendid. They're splendid freaking vehicles. But the original toys, they were kind of flimsy. The only good vehicle toys I ever remember seeing, and I actually played with ones, were the Mabius ones. Those things were solid. Those things were pretty freaking solid.
Papanika. They were made by Papanika.
What, the ones that were Mabius or the original ones?
Mabius.
Oh, but they were pretty solid, though.
Anything that's solid as you're talking about is probably Papanika, which was bought out by Bandai.
Probably. Who knows? I don't know.
Papanika stuff was great. And Bandai, as much as Bandai's done good in the time since, nothing will ever get back to Papanika quality.
Actually, going by that, it's actually...
Wait. When did Papanika get bought out?
What was it? Because Papanika was doing, like, co-licensing with Bandai. And what it was is that Bandai bought Papanika in the 80s, I think?
No, because Mabius is 2006.
No, here's the thing. Papanika was bought by Bandai in the 80s.
Okay,
so they started using all their Chogokin lines, all the Sentai Mecha, a lot of stuff would be made by Popanica, owned by Bandai, but then Bandai dissolved Popanica in like late 2008, and that's when they just got
Yeah,
rid of it.
that
Kind
makes
of
a
like how
lot of
Hasbro
sense.
kept Kenner for a while,
Yeah,
and then
that's
they
right.
just
They kept them around for like a pretty good while. That's right. Because I remember having Beast Wars toys under Kenner,
Yeah,
right?
Kenner stayed until Beast Wars and on, and I think the
And like
very
the early
early
transform,
Beast Machines
like
almost
early
before
Star
it came
Wars,
out,
yeah,
but then yeah, it came with that. Oh yeah, going by that, that's
Kenner kind of died in 2000 basically.
yeah,
yeah. Going by that, that's also another reason why I thought Ultraman was very Showa-like, because of the low amount of products, like how Showa was releasing stuff when they first came out. That's another reason why it was very Showa-like to begin with.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of toys.
I think the one thing that we mostly respect as Toku fans is like we like shows where we can collect gimmicks, but we also like shows where we're not forced to have to hanker down and buy a lot of shit. Because like you can still love a show and buy merchandise from it. You shouldn't be forced to be told every year that oh, if you really want to love this show, you're gonna need to buy 27 gimmicks or 27 forms. I don't think that makes you think that that's a good show whatsoever because I see so many people that try to tell me that some of the like Toku series that were the only thing that really made it popular were its gimmicks were good shows, and I'm like that's a flawed statement. It's like saying just by Kamen Rider Drive's shift cars alone, that was a fucking great show. No, the shift car gimmick wasn't that fucking great. I'll admit to that. But Drive was a good show when you actually fucking watched it and did not require to have toys to promote you. You know, it's like one of those things like Go Busters. Go Busters was a lowly produced show, but because Bandai's made it that, every, person in Tokusatsu thinks that, oh, a good show has to have a great fucking gimmick with several things, hurt them in the long run. I think
Yeah,
that,
GoBusters not having a gimmick was not a good move because while it made it really nice on like collecting, it was also like it barely had enough toys to cover a year because we only had like 6 mecha, 2 changers, and a few weapons. Like there was barely anything, and I think that people say, "Oh, GoBusters failed in Japan, which is why they didn't bring it to America." No, it's because Power Rangers could not stretch GoBusters toy line over 2 years; it would kill itself at retail.
Another problem, to be honest, on top of the toys, Go Buster was just too complicated. Because for once they wanted to go with more of the story thing, I think they put a little bit too much effort into it in the wrong areas. So because of that, the story became a jumbled mess, and it was a little bit too complicated, especially for kids.
I think
Yeah, I
Duncan
know
has a
the older
point.
fandom for Sentai really there's a large group of the fandom that really loves GoBusters, but
Yeah.
it just wasn't financially successful because it didn't hit the Sentai tropes it needed to hit.
Yeah, and that's
To be
the thing is, and
successful.
I feel like a lot of this shift and changes that have occurred have drastically, as I've said this before, I feel like Toei, in some regards, doesn't. It kind of feels like Saban. It's not as bad as Saban is right now, but I really feel like at times Toei is just alienating their overall community. And they're just like, oh, we just need to keep the new generation. And I'm like, but if you see some of your shows that are, in quotations, loosely failing, it is, like, I would say loosely failing. It is, because you have these people who are so loyal to the brand. You know what I'm saying? Because Sentai, everyone keeps saying, "Oh, Sentai's gonna get canned." Sentai, no, it's not. It's getting paid off by
We
Saban
haven't hit
brands.
O Ranger number. We haven't hit the lows of O Ranger. We're
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, like
It's Power Rangers that's the problem, really, no matter what. Sentai's safe, but Power Rangers is the one that's completely
yeah,
doomed.
no, Power Rangers is more doomed than before, I would say. But
I'm not sure we're gonna get any more Power Rangers after Super Ninja Steel at this rate.
I think Super Ninja Steel like jumped the shark, and not in a good way. It
But
really,
no, that's the other reason is because Saban, for whatever reason, it seems like Saban Brands thinks Power Rangers is like a what was it, a column of pop culture like DC, Marvel, Star Wars, and Transformers is.
It doesn't help that the fandom kind of thinks of it too, but then when you look at the grand scheme of things, it's nowhere near the level, not even close.
And the thing is that Saban keeps thinking as long as the Power Rangers name is on it, it will sell. But we had a movie that failed. We have a toy line that's dying because it's just not good. We had a movie toy line that clogged shelves in America. It was the number one selling thing in UK, but UK doesn't get many toys very quickly. And then also on top of that, Ninja Steel's ratings are the lowest of the franchise in the last 7 years. The only time the ratings have been lower than Ninja Steel was RPM, which was a show that didn't air in, 40 of the 51 states.
I think another problem is it doesn't matter how bad a show does in Saban's eyes. Saban, yeah, is the big contributor there and all that. But once Nickelodeon sees that it just absolutely bombs, they're the ones that kind of have the go to say, is this going to survive or not, if you think about it.
And then where does Saban go if Nick cancels them? Where does Saban go with Power Rangers? They can't go to Cartoon Network because Cartoon Network hates action shows. They can't go to Disney XD because that's owned by Disney. And they don't want anything to do with Power Rangers. That's why they sold the rights to it. And what's left? There's like nothing left for Saban except for the Netflix route, which wouldn't work for the way Power Rangers and its toy production schedules are.
Someone also might say put it as a YouTube series, but I think that's worse than a Netflix series.
Oh yeah, because the thing is that Power Rangers is a cheap production because it uses half its footage from a Japanese show that already got made. But they still have to license that show.
Yeah, because the thing is that there are some shows that are exclusive to YouTube, surprisingly, but those are made specifically for the YouTube marketing, not something that's like, oh, we're going to put it somewhere else. The only thing that is an exception is the Rescue Bots cartoon, apparently, that's coming out. But other than that, it's mostly just, like, original programming, so Power Rangers been making any sense up there.
And Power Rangers doesn't work on Netflix either because of the way Netflix airs things. They wouldn't survive on Amazon Video because it's too expensive of a service. They wouldn't survive, I don't think, on Hulu because Hulu just doesn't have a kid market. Like if Nickelodeon were to cancel Power Rangers, I think that's pretty much it for the series. They have no other place to go.
Yeah, and I think the problem is like with Toku too is like on the Japanese side, I think Sentai and Ultraman are the only ones that really have a real identity on what they want to be, where like Garo has an identity in some regards because it's still helmed by Amamiya, but then you also have
Garo has the benefit of youth. It's the newest long-running Toku series, but they're also very much have the benefit of they're catered toward an adult market, and that means they can do a lot more things that other Toku can't do. And because they're got toys coming from Bandai are all figure arts and Makai Kato and Tamashii Nation's premium Bandai stuff, they don't have to adhere to a collecting gimmick. They don't have to shove toys in if they don't want to. If they want to debut a new Makai Knight form, they just do it. They don't have to force it in, which also helps the shows stay fresh that way, which keeps them going. Also the shorter run times. Also the fact that they came up with the anime initiative, which Garo was already very anime-esque in its live-action shows, and it fit perfectly in anime to the point where it actually gained an American following from its anime being brought over to America and released over here. More people have checked out the live-action series because of it. So I think that what Sentai Rider and Ultraman could learn from Garo is that you want to make sure you have an identity to your series, but don't stay too stagnant because you need to keep your audience engaged.
And now that was the funny thing, because Garo's stagnancy was what made it popular. And as I said to you, one of the issues I had was when they drastically changed the concept for its third season, and I was like, you had a really good concept of the mantle is passed from father to son, of the bloodline, and then out of nowhere it was like, oh no, just some random new guy. And like with the anime saying, oh, it can be anyone, I thought, okay, that's a good thing for the animes. Because at one point they debunked and said, we're not canon. Then they went back and said, no, we are canon.
They are canon. And the thing is, there's nothing to contradict because the Garo animes take place in different periods of time than any of the live action shows.
Exactly. That's why it can still work. But
and
it doesn't explain how it exchanges the armors.
That's the thing. The thing that is kind of interesting about Garo is if you notice, like, the armor that TaJa wore, the armor that Koga wore, and the armor that Raiga wore was basically all the same armor, like, design-wise. Then Ryuga had a different version of the Garo armor, Raiko had a different version, Leon had a different version, Sword had a different version. So the ones that aren't directly related to the Koga bloodline have different designs for their Garo armor.
Yeah, like now
That
they're
evolve
establishing. I think they're trying to loosely establish that being
a Golden Knight.
a Golden Knight is actually like the top title of Garo is just a type of Golden Knight, whereas you have freaking the other ones where it's like Silvers all have different names, but I think like if you're a Garo, you
Silver
must have
all
to.
has different names, but they all start with the letter Z.
Yeah, so I feel like if you're a Garo brand, that means you're automatically going to be like a high end freaking, knight. I think like it's
Well, the
supposed to be
way
like a
it's
title, like a
the
different,
way it's
not just a
described
person.
is like the Golden Knight Garo is the like a prestigious title for a Makai Knight, and it's passed down through bloodlines, while the Silver Knight titles are wandering knights. Basically, it kind of feels like a Garo is set in a city to be that city's protector, and a Zero can be sent in to assist the Garo.
Yeah, like they originally made it that Zero, like in the original lore, they established that the way that in the first series at least, how the Makai Knights are is that Garo is like the defender of like the north or the east, and Zero was of the west and the south or whatever, and that there were supposed to be like a different Makai Knight in different color for each of the four regions. But then, as we've said, how they changed the lore with the anime productions is that like no, there's more than just a single type of Garo, because the Garo is not just a mantle of that armor, but it's actually the rank of that. I think of that warriors. Like Garo is the highest. Like there could be maybe other gold knights we have yet to see, and those gold knights might not be a Garo, but Garo is like like Grand Admiral or General, Vice Admiral. Like it's supposed to be like I think a class or a title rather than of an armor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think that it's also a case of like Garo has evolved its concept over time, much like Super Sentai has, Kamen Rider has, Ultraman has. They take the concept and then they like, all right, well, how can we expand this? Where can we go with this? And I think Garo has been really experimental in that field, and it's really risky when they get experimental because Makai no Hana and Crimson Moon didn't work out too well. But they tried different things. They tried to do something different, and in the end, I think that Garo is going to be a series that stays fresh. It just needs to not release so many simultaneous projects that take place in different periods of time, because I think it's going to start confusing people.
Yeah, and I think that's what's kind of the fuck you to certain elements of like when it comes to Toku is like when you try to be consistent, you gotta make sure you do it right or you don't do it at all. Like it's one of those ones where like they try it and fail and vice versa, and it's like I feel like with Kamen Rider, one of their biggest issues is like Kamen Rider and Sentai is that they always have tried to do where the worlds don't connect anymore, or try to make it that they're of one canon so they can get away with going, oh, why doesn't no one remember this great universal disaster that we had last year, or so on and so forth. And it's because of the issues, you know what I'm saying? Of like, oh, if you keep all these worlds canon, there should be no Japan left. It's like if you were to keep Kuga in the same universe with like Agito, like, well, it really is, but it's not. But you know what I'm saying? It would be like the population would be so effing low that it would be just unbearable. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those ones where I understand why they do it, but in the long run, it also hurts the like plausibility of their shows being all intertwined and intersewn. Like there's certain things where oh yeah, you can make or break by or doing it in a canon universe. Because like think about it, the original Showa writers they were able to do it for a majority of them. Worked all right.
It worked all
Sentai
the
can
way
do
up
it.
through Zekros.
Sentai can sort of do it, but then when you go back and watch Sentais that we haven't seen yet or whatnot, you discover soon after that oh no, some of these Sentais shouldn't actually exist in the same plane as others. Yeah, Oh Ranger.
Then you got a weird one like Ninja, which was already established that was an alternate universe.
No, Ninja was an alternate universe from Drive, and then
Which
Q
also
Ranger's
screws
an
up.
established alternate
Yeah.
universe from Deca Ranger.
Yeah, stuff is very inconsistent, and I think that's a problem that they have, where at least Garo tries to keep one consistent timeline. They do.
Yeah, and then the thing is, even then they have different Garos in the same time period, they're in different cities.
Like, for example, here's the funny thing. Ultraman did it pretty good of keeping consistent. And then they were like, all right, we're going to stop being consistent in the 90s with our revival, but we're still going to have it be loosely consistent, like as if, like, okay, there are certain themes and elements of these characters within these universes. And then they went back to being fully consistent again with Mabius onwards. They're like, okay, we're gonna have it that we're gonna explore more multiverse theory, so we can actually have references to our other Ultra series, so we can get away with it then, because they started really bringing in the multiverse theory directly. Around, I want to say they really like started inventing the multiverse theory as early as TaJa, then again in Max and Nexus, but they didn't go fully through with executing it until Leo, when not Leo, I mean Zero, where when he was like training with Leo and he goes to fight Belial at one point, freaking Nexus shows up as in its Noah form and lends him power and is like, "Hey, buddy, I hear you need some help. I can sense it across dimensions and time, so here you go." And then because of him getting the powers from Noah then provided him the ability to teleport, to other dimensions where he met heroes like Ginga, Victory, X, and Orb, because all the new generation heroes are actually supposed to be in parallel universes to the main universe. They're not all they're only canon because their universes are so parallel to each other. It's like thinly sliced like bologna. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're in a slicer and you're telling them like paper thin, where you can almost see through the cold cut. That's literally like what the new generation is that they are so thin. You're just like, holy shit, that's like paper thin, these universes. And I think
Yeah.
that works a lot better. Is that if you work at how Ninja Steel's trying to do Super Ninja Steel, which is it's already late in the game to try to incorporate this idea of a shoestring multiverse, you're fucking up. Ultraman is executing it correctly because they were like, well, we made non-canon shit, but because of the 40th anniversary, we're gonna find a way to make it canon again. And I think that's how it pays off. Like, I don't know if you agree with me, but like I think the fact is they were able to bring everything back together by using the Ultramen that were straight up proven to be alternate universe like jumpers, and say, oh, because of these guys, they can bring these guys to this universe. Because also, the funny thing is they even have an Ultraman that works on time travel. Ultraman Ginga's from the future. He's from the fucking future.
Yeah.
Where's Victory from?
Victory is somehow from the Earth.
That is confusing.
Just go watch Ginga S. It's confusing.
So, in the end, like, it seems like there's a lot of, I don't know, it's just a lot of stuff that when it comes down to each toku, they're all different. And I think that's what makes this genre really great, is that a lot of the shows within it are different in their own ways, you know? When you look at, super live action superhero TV shows in America, a lot of them run kind of the same. You know, a good majority of them are in the same universe on the same channel, but a lot of them can be very similar, where they take on, or they're very similar to just typical drama shows in America. Like the Marvel Netflix shows are more American TV drama than they are superhero series.
Whereas CW is literally copy and paste, literally every same show CW's ever had with superhero elements.
Pretty much, and it kind of blends the two together, which is probably why they're the most successful. And then you got shows like Gotham, which are just whatever, and then Marvel has been throwing TV shows at every single network that exists that's not owned by Warner Brothers. And in the end, when it comes down to it, a lot of those shows, they either blend into each other or they blend into other types of shows. But at the end of the day, the only show on Earth that's just like Super Sentai is Power Rangers, because it's adapted from Super Sentai. But Kamen Rider is its own thing. Then Ultraman is its own thing, and Garo is its own thing. They take elements of other shows, but they still have their own identity that is distinctive from each other. There's no white noise when it comes to Toku. They're all very distinctive.
Like, I think, though, the problem is there is, as me and Mooch have said on other podcasts, which I don't know if you've actually went and listened to all of them. I'm pretty sure you probably didn't even listen to most of them. Uh, there's this issue that we have is that, as I think we brought it up, is that there's a really bad brand loyalty too. Like there's this really sick brand loyalty, and most of it is usually from the Toei element of the thing, because their biggest excuse is that, oh, Ultraman's inconsistent, Garo was inconsistent till it got popular, all the other Toku genres died out. And that doesn't mean you still can't go and fucking watch them. Just because there's nothing ongoing doesn't mean you can't go back and enjoy a show. That's like saying,
Or even then,
like,
there's
it's
probably
stupid.
plenty of Sentai and Rider they've never seen.
Yeah, and like there's like a really weird inconsistency, though, as we've talked about in other discussions, that fans just don't want to go outside of their safe zone. It's kind of ludicrous because I think the problem is especially if a person came into Tokusatsu during the time of the Great Purge of like copyrighted material and other stuff like with YouTube and stuff. I guess that's really the reason why, is because we lost so many Metal Heroes, we lost a lot of subbed Ultra series at the time, we lost a lot of other subbed produced Subaraya productions and other, Tokus, that it didn't give anyone a chance to go watch them, even though they weren't ongoing, even though they weren't still a syndicated series. They were like, well, Super Sentai is the ongoing, Kamen Rider is the ongoing, so I'll just go watch those. And that's, I think, what actually gets me more miffed, rather than trying to get more people into Ultraman. It's more of the sense of you don't want to go out and at least experiment with the shows and see what you like and what you don't like, even with the defunct ones, or even with the past ones, with a lot of more mentality that we have today, that it annoys the hell out of me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
makes sense.
and that's what I also think is the problem, because don't forget, there's quite a few people that we've known and met over the ages that when they join Toku, they are like one of those ones who like absorb quite a lot of it real fast, and then immediately think, just by watching, what is it, 4 or 5 shows, it makes them a fucking genius, and they start saying the most ludicrous shit. And I just find it hysterical that there's also that mentality of, so you just went to Wikipedia and you read a few things, or you watched a few shows. That doesn't mean you know what the concept of Ultraman is. Just because you watch some YouTuber talk about Kamen Rider doesn't mean you know what Kamen Rider is. It just gives you somewhat of a good example of what Kamen Rider is, but it doesn't make you understand the concept. And I think that's the problem, is that maybe the shows don't do enough. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they do enough to help people get introduced. And I also think a weird thing that's going on now is that a lot of people, for some reason in the community, get introduced to Toku through the, in quotation, anniversary heavily gimmick series, rather than getting introduced to a series that they should watch first before being adapted, before they go further into the overall sense of the community. Because I've said in last week's episode, or the week before that, please stop telling people to go watch Gokaiger. It's going to ruin their perception of what Super Sentai is. You should
It's
watch.
also going to spoil them
Yeah.
for like later on shows that they should watch.
Yeah, so it's like, go watch shows that you think, the best. This is the best argument I have. If there's a Sentai that was adapted almost 100% into a Power Rangers series and you love it, maybe you should start with those first. Like Time Ranger, if you love Time Force, go watch Time Ranger. If you for some reason loved Wild Force, maybe you should then go watch Gal Ranger.
Or if you didn't love Wild Force,
Go watch Gal Ranger, because it's a better telling of what freaking they tried to be.
Like, basically, the way you do it is you find a Power Rangers show you love, go watch it Sentai. Or just pull up a list of the Super Sentai theme songs, like maybe a compilation video on YouTube, pick a song you like the most, watch that show.
Yeah, that's probably like the best analogy that even I can say, is like sometimes this theme song can hook you in. Because I remember there was I really want to say, like, one of the early Rider series, when I wasn't really into Kamen Rider, I got quickly like addicted to one of the series just because of its theme song alone. And I think at the time it was really Blade. And then I kind of stopped watching Blade shortly after it switched to the second opening. Because I was like, this is some ludicrous shit right here.
It's like the only time Kamen Rider switched openings too.
No, it happened again.
Well, Den-O, but it just changed a different version
Oh
of the
no,
same
yeah,
song.
well, no, I was gonna say Hibiki did it.
Well, that's because Hibiki was changed completely.
Oh, yeah.
That was a different
Replan.
show. At that
I know,
point.
and that's why what's his face, the guy who did Kuga, literally like jumped ship and started doing like his own other productions and Toku like shows for other companies, and they
You know,
came
I
out
think
alright.
one problem when it comes to Ultraman specifically, especially even though it's on Crunchyroll, it's getting licensed and doing all the promotions and stuff. I think the main reason is because of a lot of the stuff outside of Ultraman, since Ultraman is getting official license and Super Sentai is getting full official license. Since Kamen Rider isn't getting official license, that's its own thing. But if you think about it, when it just comes to the Crunchyroll thing, some people usually go to the Crunchyroll usually to watch anime and everything. So unless there's more stuff, like maybe if they were able to license Kamen Rider or something else on top of it, maybe they'll check out the section a little more than just because, oh, we're gonna watch it because
Yeah, but that's the thing about that brand loyalty, Darkon, is that like they're like, oh, why should I even consider Ultraman if they don't have Kamen Rider on Crunchyroll? And I'm not gonna lie, I really think that's the stupidest explanation ever as to why you're not gonna watch a show is because you're salty that the show you like isn't on there. Nevertheless, I'm somehow gonna edit this into 2 episodes now, so yay.
Yay!
Two-parter.
We did more work in less time.
happy
Woo!
birthday.
And that means still, though, Darkon, you're coming back anyway, so we can record the movie wars in advance. Yeah, because you know what, movie wars, they have to happen eventually in a couple of episodes. But anyways,
God, I have to watch those things.
I know, but now it gives you technically time since I'm splitting this into 2 episodes.
That gives me more time. I can like watch like one a day.
Okay, anyways, any fucking ways, Darkon, tell people how they can follow you on social media.
Okay, for social media, you can follow me under DarkOut633 on Twitter, also on YouTube, and I've recently been posting a bunch of stuff on Instagram finally under DarkOut633, so I've been actually doing stuff there.
All right, sound out. Give them your feedback.
You know,
Outro.
Sound Out 12 on YouTube, Sound Out 12 on Twitter. If you're looking for me in my hometown, good luck. I'm pretty hard to find.
Alright, I am Wheelchair21 on most places except Instagram, where someone took that name way before I even got on Instagram. There, you can find me as TaJa_Doyle. Nevertheless, though, this is both parts 1 and 2 of, your episode. Now, if people are wondering why it's the outro, well, I just copied and pasted over to part 2. Hey, it's Wheelchair21, and thanks again for listening to an all-new episode of Los Ingobernables de Tokusatsu. If you want to hear more content or see more content from the Hero Club YouTube channel, we're going to need you to subscribe, like, comment with some feedback, and share this channel with a friend. We also would like you to check out our website, hero-club.com, and follow us on various social media outlets just by looking up Hero Club for Life, as well as the stores you see are where we shop. Anyways, thanks again, and we'll see you all next time.